I didn't lose my temper at my son's rehearsal dinner. I didn't cry. I didn't beg for a seat. I just listened while my future daughter-in-law erased me, sentence by sentence. Then the wedding planner stood up, opened her tablet, and said she had an email she was instructed to share. The room changed in one breath. And Chloe realized too late that I wasn't there to fight for a chair. I was there to protect my name. My name is Danielle Harper, and I'm 37 years old. I'm a middle school art teacher, nothing flashy. I live in a small townhouse and drive the same car I've had for 10 years. I raised my son, Tyler, mostly on my own after his father left when he was 8. I worked 2 jobs at one point, teaching by day, tutoring at night, just to keep him in a good school district. I wasn't rich or glamorous, but I had something they didn't expect: quiet strength and patience. My future daughter-in-law, Chloe, came from money. Country clubs, vacation homes, designer everything. From the start, she treated me like I was something to be managed, not embraced. I tried to be kind. I paid for part of the rehearsal dinner. I even offered to help with decorations. But that night, in front of everyone, she made it clear where she thought I belonged. If you've ever felt looked down on because you didn't have money or status, hit that subscribe button. I know what it's like to smile through disrespect. Share your story in the comments. I read everyone. And if you believe quiet strength wins in the end, click hype. Let's go. The rehearsal dinner was at an upscale restaurant Chloe's parents chose, all dark wood, white tablecloths, and servers who moved like ghosts. The smell of truffle oil and expensive wine hung in the air, sweet and heavy. Everyone looked polished. Chloe's mother wore pearls. Her father spoke too loudly, like the room belonged to him. I walked in holding a small gift bag for Tyler, my hands already damp. At the entrance, a hostess smiled and pointed me toward a display of seating cards, each one written in neat script. I scanned for my name. I found it. Then I paused. My card wasn't near Tyler and Chloe's. It was tucked toward the back, beside names I barely recognized, some of Chloe's co-workers. I felt my throat tighten, but I kept my face calm. I approached Chloe quietly near the bar and said, "I think there's been a mistake." She looked at me with a tight smile that never reached her eyes. "No mistake," she said. "Immediate family only at the head table." I blinked. "I am his mother." Chloe leaned closer, her perfume sharp like citrus, and she whispered, "You're not family, you're just his past." I went still. Behind her, Tyler stood near his friends, laughing too loudly. I walked over and said softly, "Tyler." He didn't meet my eyes. He muttered, "Mom, please don't make this a scene." Chloe's mother let out a light laugh and said, "Let's not get emotional tonight." A couple of guests heard it. Their forks paused midair. An awkward silence spread like a stain. I returned to my seat at the back table, my gift bag suddenly feeling foolish. Then Chloe raised her glass for a toast and thanked those who truly supported us financially and emotionally. I understood the message. I was being erased out loud. That's when I noticed the wedding planner, Ms. Reynolds, watching from the side with a careful expression. She stood up unexpectedly and said, "Before we continue, there's an email I was instructed to share regarding tonight's arrangements." Chloe's smile faltered for half a second, then she recovered and laughed like it was all harmless. "Oh, that's not necessary," she said, waving a hand as if Ms. Reynolds were staff who'd spoken out of turn. Her father chuckled and added, "We can handle our own arrangements, thank you." Then Chloe looked around the room and said, "I just want everyone to understand how much my parents have done. They've covered the real expenses." Her father lifted his glass and joked, "We didn't want this wedding to look like a school fundraiser." People laughed politely. I felt heat creep up my neck. I remembered the check I'd sent months ago, the one I mailed quietly because Tyler said Chloe was stressed about deposits. I had written it without a note because I didn't want praise. I wanted peace. Chloe turned her attention to my table for a moment and said, loud enough for others to hear, "Danielle struggled financially for years, but look, she made it. It's inspiring." Her tone made it sound like a stain I could never scrub off. Tyler leaned toward me and said softly, "Mom, they're just joking." I looked at him, my chest aching. "Does it feel like a joke to you?" I asked. He swallowed and looked away. Chloe took Tyler's arm and pulled him aside near the hallway to the restrooms. I could still hear her voice, low but sharp. "Your mom always makes everything about her," she said. "She's jealous. She can't stand that you're moving up." Tyler came back with his jaw tight. He leaned down and hissed, "Why can't you just be happy for us?" That hurt more than Chloe's words, because it meant he believed her version of me, the one she'd been feeding him in private. I was sad, yes, bitter too. But I was also watching, listening. noticing the way Chloe's stories kept changing depending on who was in front of her. And as she spoke, I started connecting dots about something she didn't know I had saved. What they didn't know was I keep records. Every email, every text, every message that matters. I learned that habit when Tyler's father disappeared and I had to fight for child support. Paper trails saved people like me. Months earlier, Chloe had reached out privately about money. She wrote, "Could you cover the venue deposit and part of catering? My parents are tightening the budget." Then another message came, fast, almost panicked. "Please keep it between us. I can't let my dad think we need help." I stared at that screen for a long time before I replied, because I already sensed something slippery in her tone. Still, I sent the money, not for Chloe, for Tyler. I saved the bank confirmation, saved her words. I even saved the voice memos she sent Tyler by mistake, the ones where she mocked my job in my townhouse, calling it sad like it was a disease. And after one too many small cuts, I made a decision. I forwarded everything to Emzai Reynolds weeks ago. I didn't do it with anger, I did it with calm. I told her, "If I'm disrespected publicly, I want the truth read publicly." Isis Reynolds didn't gasp or scold me. She just nodded once and said she understood. So at that rehearsal dinner, sitting near strangers, I didn't feel powerless. I felt ready. I knew something was about to shift. Ms. Reynolds was the kind of planner who didn't smile unless she meant it. She had silver hair pulled into a neat twist and shoes that didn't make sound when she walked. Earlier that week, during a final walkthrough call, she'd said quietly, "I've seen controlling families before. I don't tolerate dishonesty." I asked her, "Do you really want to get involved?" She replied, "I believe in fairness. If it comes to that, I'll stand by facts." Now, during dinner, Chloe grew bolder, like my silence was permission. She leaned toward Tyler and whispered loudly enough for others to hear, "Some people should just be grateful they're invited." The clink of silverware stopped for a beat. Tyler gave a nervous laugh, the kind people use when they're afraid to choose a side. Chloe's parents sat back like they had already won, like they had already decided where I belonged in their family hierarchy. The room felt tight, charged. I could hear the faint music from the restaurant speakers, too cheerful for the mood. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. As Reynolds exchanged a quick glance with me, I didn't nod, I didn't need to. She stood slowly, holding her tablet with both hands, like it carried something heavy. She cleared her throat. Several guests turned their heads. Chloe's smile hardened, and Tyler's eyes flicked between us, unsure like a boy again, caught between two storms. Ms. Reynolds spoke clearly, not loud, but firm enough that the whole room leaned in. "I've been asked to clarify something about tonight's funding and seating." Chloe's chair scraped slightly as she stiffened. "That's not necessary," Chloe said, her voice sweet but strained. Ms. Reynolds didn't look at her. She looked at the guests. On March 4th, Ms. Harper transferred $8,500 to cover the venue deposit and catering. A gasp moved through the room like wind. Someone whispered, "$8,000? Chloe cut in fast. "That was just a small contribution," she said, laughing too sharply. Ms. Mayers Reynolds tapped her screen and continued, "I'm going to read the email that came with that request." Chloe's face strained. Ms. Mayers Reynolds read aloud, word for word, calm as a judge. "Danielle, please don't tell my parents you're covering this. They'll think we can't afford it." Silence fell. Even Chloe's father stopped smiling. Ms. Reynolds scrolled. "There is more," Chloe snapped. "This is inappropriate." Ms. Reynolds read another message, this one colder. It included Chloe calling me temporary family. I felt Tyler's gaze slam into Chloe like he couldn't recognize her. Tyler's face went pale, his mouth opened then closed. "Chloe," he said, voice shaking, "is this true?" Chloe turned toward him, eyes wide, then narrowed at me. "She's twisting things," she said. "She's always playing the victim." I didn't move. I stayed seated, hands folded, breathing steady. Ms. Reynolds held up timestamps and bank confirmations. "These records are verified," she said, "and this seating choice was specifically requested by Chloe." Guests murmured, not cruelly, but in confusion and disappointment. Chloe's father's expression turned furious. But it was not aimed at me. Tyler stood up so fast his chair tipped back. "My mom raised me alone," he said, louder than I'd heard him speak all night. "She is family." Chloe's eyes flashed. She grabbed her purse. "This is insane," she said, and tried to storm out. I finally stood. My voice stayed soft. "I never wanted the head table," I said. "I just wanted respect." For a moment, no one spoke. The power in the room shifted, quiet but complete, like a door closing. The wedding was postponed indefinitely. That's the phrase Tyler used when he called me the next morning, voice raw, like he hadn't slept. He told me he moved out of Chloe's apartment and was staying with a friend. Then he said, "Mom, I need space to think." It stung, but I understood. He was grieving the idea of who he thought Chloe was. Chloe's parents sent a stiff apology email that read like a legal statement. It didn't mention my feelings, it mentioned misunderstandings. I didn't reply. I felt grief, yes, but I also felt peace. The kind that comes when you stop begging to be seen. I went back to my life. I taught my students how to shade with charcoal. I graded projects at my kitchen table. I slept without my phone clenched in my hand. One evening, I walked into my small studio corner, the one with paint stains on the floor and jars that smelled like turpentine and soap. I set up a blank canvas and started painting slow strokes, steady and sure. I didn't win a seat at the table. I reclaimed my name. If someone ever tried to erase your role in a family or downplay what you gave, you know how deep that cuts. Have you ever been publicly disrespected by someone who owed you gratitude? Share your story below. I want to hear it. Subscribe to stand with others who refuse to be erased. Click hype to help this story reach others who need it. Your story has power. If you felt a connection to mine, please subscribe and share your journey in the comments. Every hype you give this video helps empower someone else. Thank you for being here and for listening.